This is a souvenir I just gave. Okay. Really? Awesome. Okay. Okay. So, everybody, Steve's doing that. 如果到时候，不用写，so useful, I don't know, very powerful.
啊，你那时候听不起啊？
我没有用，你要问他。好，说一个。人家说他是跟老婆，然后对，然后跟他这个，然后对，然后他忘记，然后他忘记。
Actually, they want and just because she is a it's cheap. It's a place. And it's it's the it's well it's a part thing. For me, profession should even so language. Everybody. So you want the purpose of the value the mission
people, what is age, getting old, and then old people, go to talk to the evidence that the video that on before, uh,
if to people that become change to
we are nowadays like the method on the post depends on color of different. So I think I why then once I just got after the small one the old people grandfather and mother they just can take care of by themselves. They get to the but they don't need to follow the in Korea, the really is not this is just having a word, uh, the, the country stronger. So those are many like benefits one thing.
Yeah, I know, but everything's too expensive. So, so most of the people that buy the technical and control mechanism than regular human movements. And please join me in welcoming Dr. Park. Thank you. To work.
Oh, yes. Yeah, thanks for President Yan for the nice introduction. It's my great honor to present my study to many researchers, students. I just especially thanks to Professor Pang for invitation, and I very appreciate that great students who have invite speaker and people very much. I very appreciate that. And my title of today is bridging the gap between biomechanics and motor control, and then how this combined approach can be applied to sports-related research. So here's the context stage. So first part, I'll just talk about the some strategy scope of my understanding of human movement. So how I just try to understand the human motion. And second part, I just explain the concept of combining and bridging the gap between these two disciplines within human movement science, and then some computational approach, computational index, which embrace these two field of study. And third part, I will give you a quick example of sports-related study, the current study done by my lab. And last part, I just show you a couple sample of the future and ongoing studies. So this is like a boxology of neuromechanics. Neuromechanics is a new word like combining biomechanics and motor control. And neuromechanics is not field of study. It is a kind of approach to understand human motion. So how human motion can be generated. This boxology is very simplified like a figure to understand human movement generation and its change. So higher center can create the motor command, and the neuromuscular dynamics and musculoskeletal dynamics can produce like force. The force is causal motion, and it going to the whole body dynamics. Then we can just observe the kinematics of human motion, like the position, velocity, acceleration. And then biomechanical research, I'm not just underestimate biomechanical research. Biomechanical research just stop there, or screen stop here. Yeah, and then that is not end of the human movement generation and its change. So since we in human there are so many sensors like vision, auditory, and tactile. So many information is working to the human body and then its motion. So this is sensory dynamics and sensory fusion process is going to be is utilized to state estimation. State estimation is like you can simply think it is comparison between your actual motion and then your reference motion. So what intended motion. So there are gap between those two and make a correction. And that information is sent back to the higher center, and higher center create a new command to motion. And then all this process can be applied to the adaptation, learning, practice, whatever you call any change of human motions. But the each like a theme, like adaptation, practice, learning has a different like a scheme or computational model. So again, this is very much wide boxology of understanding human motion. So I understand human. My research scope is within this like a scope. So my study is at first I start with biomechanics. So I somebody asked me to what is your expertise, and I usually say biomechanics mechanic. I'm biomechanist. So mechanical we need to measure so that mechanical variable is going to be in terms of analysis can be performance variable. What is it? Performance variable given by certain multitask like center of mass or some many performance variable could be set. And this performance variable is induced by the action of some element variable. And the element variable has a form, some hierarchy, like end-effect force and joint kinetics, and muscle activity and body unit activities. I mean, there are more deeper level of like a hierarchy, like a cellular level, but that is beyond my ability. So my approach is up to multi-unit activity. And one thing difference between biomechanics and motor control, biomechanics is just just focus on the mechanical outcomes and then how that mechanical outcomes is understand with the help of mechanical principle. But the motor control or neuroscience approach is more like a coordination, how element variable is working together to achieve the performance variable to be stabilized or unstabilized. To sum up, then I just want to link important the physical variable with help of parameters. What does it mean is that Apico-MI is a very famous equation model in biomechanics. I mean, that is Newton's law of motion. So any biomechanical model cannot beat that model. That model is always true. So that is like a constraint, but that equation is constrained by the law of nature. So all the mechanical principle is following the law of nature or physics. But if we switch that to the change in force is like the length change of system multiplied by some coefficient. The coefficient that one is stiffness. Then that K value is not the constrained by law of nature. Is that parameter is a free variable. So control variable is like that constraint free. So coordination is something like to tease out the compute the control parameters for making us human motions. Then what is method I just use? Again, I'm stuck with some mechanics. So first, we just make a mechanical model for certain task. This task is a circular object, like a pre-engine, like you can just like rotating doorknob or just opening the drawer, something like that. And if task itself is a 5-digit grasping with a circular object with a static condition, static means in holding object at rest without motions, then we can just figure out the 6 occasion motion. So all the force sum in all three axes in this space is going to be zero, and all the top value sum should be zero, and top value is, I mean, this is a little bit redundant. Top value can be decomposed into four components. If we just, if someone just wants to have a biomechanical approach, then the individual finger force doesn't matter. So net force is in the net force is in use. What's the motion of that object? The individual finger force is non-neglect, but their major concern was net force is following the mechanical principle or not. And then some model we just figure out is valid or not. That is the biomechanical core or just the main direction of biomechanics. But if you just want to interest in the what the individual figure force for individual elements is individual element actions. Here's a very simple example: two finger pressing task. So if you just press with two fingers and then make a certain level of force, let's say 10 Newton, then if we go back to the middle school math, then it is equation like x plus y equal 10. Then if I ask you to solve that equation, then it is unsolvable because unknown is 2 and equation is 1. So we need one more equation to get the unique one single combination of x and y. But in this case, x and y, like the index immediate intercourse is many, it is infinite. So it's a mathematically infinite number, it means that there is no solution. But then next step is we can just test human subject and how human can solve this mathematically unsolvable problem. So if x and y equal 10 in that equation, if we just solve that one, then this, is there any light is, here, here's light. Oh, yeah. This line is like a y and x intercept of x plus y equal 10. So as long as the index and mid combination is along within this line, then it satisfies the task, although that is not optimal or just one single combination. So that is we call the solution space. But sometimes people can just satisfy the task, sometimes not. So this is a kind of error variance. Then step for the computation is how the central nervous system. I mean, I don't know whether it is done by central nervous system, but anyhow, how behavior of element is organized is the next step to analyze. So we just use an uncontrolled manifold computation approach. So now that approach is quite many people are using that one. But for me, understanding interpretation of the result need to be very cautious. So outcome of that computation is a synergy index. So here there are so many equations, but this is not math. There is no math there. It's just plus minus multiplication and division. So if you just go just follow the step by step, you can understand what that equation is for. First, just reset the system equation. So hoping of course sum is going, hoping of course change is going to be a change in the total course. And this 1 1 1 1 is a Jacobian, which is a partial derivative of the element variable. And we just compute null space of the Jacobian. Null space Jacobian means we just try to compute this space because that space data is within that space, then it just satisfies task. It doesn't hamper, it doesn't violate the task rule. So we just compute variance within that null space, and then that is a variance about some flexibility, how flexible the people behave. And then we just also just compute the singular vector. I mean, vector is orthogonal to the null space, and we compute a variance of error. So, like variance observed along that orthogonal space is error variable. And stability index is relative magnitude between the BUCM and BURT. Like if flexibility variance is larger than error variance, then we can say system is quite stabilized. So stability synergy index is a kind of stability related index. So here dimension is 2, and if we just expand dimension like 3 finger, then it looks like that. And if we just investigate all 5-digit action, then 1 finger degrees of freedom is 30, like a 3 directional force, 3 directional torque. So all the degrees of freedom is 30. So dimensionality is inflated, but the word procedure is exactly the same. So that is a main computational approach for the motor control. So summary of my approach is biomechanical approach. I just understand the human motion with the mechanical principle, and then motor control for neurophysiology approach is a correlation pattern of element in human movement using the various computational tool. So now I just give you like a couple example of sports related applications. So at the end of each study, I will just think of like a coaching direction because this conference is coaching. But to be honest, my expertise is not the coaching. So maybe the audience will give me a better feedback about how that this result can be utilized, applied to have actually sports player. First study was a tennis forehand stroke, and then I mean, everyone agreed. So it is a serial link. So trunk, arm and hand and racket also we include that one. Racket and glove. Also, it is a serial link model. We just configure the serial link model. And then focus of this study is biomechanical difference of forehand stroke between the novice and the expert. And again, controls relative difference between those two groups is issue of this study. And then test was a forehand stroke with three different speed of approaching the ball. Like slow is about 7 meter per second, medium is 10, and fast is 14. And this here is a result. There are so many results. Uh, So here is the angular displacement of the arm and angular displacement of the hand. So you can just follow me to understand this whole bunch graph pretty much easily. So arm, there is no difference between the ball speed, but there are some difference between the group. Like expert group has an angular displacement is much more large. That means they have less flexed motion. But hand position has like the ball speed effect. So once ball speed increased, then hand position angular displacement is decreased, is less flexed. Then locket position actually position angle displacement has no difference. I mean, there are some difference between the ball speed, but no difference between the expert and novice. And then this is the angular velocity. Angular velocity of expert is much faster than novice player. So with this research, rocket motion is not very much synchronized with the other segment motions. So rocket motion is not very independent, but the less correlation with the other segment motion. And then this one is a cellular coefficient, so how it is clustered. And the novice player, this is trunk. Trunk motion is very important because trunk has a large inertia, so using a trunk is very important for the tennis player. Although I'm not playing tennis at all, so my student is doing tennis, so he explained me importance of trunk. So trunk velocity is novice. There is no clear pattern according to the speed, but the expert has a certain relationship, like not parallel relationship, but some systematic relationship between according to the speed. Here is the most control aspect. Here is the PUCM. So this is a variance of flexibility, and this is variance about error. So as we, I mean, opposite we expected, the novice player shows a more flexible pattern of the joint angle covariations. Then some may think it is good. So novice is much better than experts. But if we just take a look at some error variance, so large flexibility is associated with a large error. So this means this flexibility is not always going to have a positive effect. So this is expert has a small flexibility. That means expert has a more consistent configuration of the arm configuration. In terms of synergy, stability related index, those two groups are no difference. That doesn't mean that expert has a less stable just by just comparing it we can just have a misinterpret the result, but this result just says expert has a consistent configuration and then novice has a flexible but a large error of their performance. So here is possible coaching direction, then proper segment adjustment, decouple the use of this segment. So is your this segment should be quite independent motions and systematic change of trunk rotation with the ball speed. Trunk is realized. And then flexible of element action joint configuration should not cause the change in the rocket position orientation. So I mean, first a message was the same as a third one. So that is maybe possible coaching direction. And second one is archery performance. So archery is very interesting. Oh, I only have like less than 10 minutes. Archery has a very interesting like a sports. So it has like a finger pulse control and bimanual pulse control and then posture control. So it can it's very good like a sports team for applying biomechanics and motor control. I mean, one guy is one of my student dissertation now. He is researcher at KISS, a Korean Institute of Sports Science, and he just published many papers in domestic and international journal with this one. And the first step was very simple, like how many finger is good. So why just archery shooting is done by multiple fingers. So result is here. So if we use like a more finger, then stability index is increased for both force stabilization and moment stabilization. Also, this ACI is accuracy index and the PRI is precision index. So is a lower value is more precise and more accurate and more precise. So more finger is utilized, performance is more accurate. That is the message of this one. And I just skip this one. And we just have like how muscle is organized with the two different conditions. One condition is like released their arrow by self-paced time. Like he can choose, player can choose release time, and then second condition is release by external cue. So which one is better? And result was like this one is ST is a self and ET is external Q based trigger release. So muscle synergy, the muscle organization is much larger. That stabilization index is much larger in ST condition, self condition. So like both in the force and the muscular level accuracy and or many factors is good when released by the self-selected time. So the message for this one is that using more than one finger is good, and a time for release time is self-selected manner is good, better than the extra Q released by extra Q. And third one is warm-up impact. Warm-up impact is good. So, I mean, many people agree with this one. Warm-up is good. But this guy, this athlete is my current doctoral student. Just want to know the clear reason why warm-up is good. So after warm-up, like a course, this is arm like a flexion and extension talk. After warming up, it increased about 13%. 13% is quite significant, so it is good. And then how for this study, we just measure the motor unit level of analysis. So there are some device which can decompose motor unit using surface EMG. And after the warm exercise, like recruitment firing rate is increased. Like they are firing much faster, and then range of motor unit recruitment is wider. Like motor unit 4 is this big. Then before the exercise, they just use this range of motor unit. But after a warm up, then they just have a larger like a boundary of the motor unit utilization. And then washout, we are supposed to invest washout effect. So this warm-up pack is lasts about 15 minutes. So it is a short-term pack. So we just compare the strength training. Result is very similar, but the washout effect, this one is quite disadvantage or limitation for the warm-up exercise. And then first one is baseball pitching. The question, how much time do I have? 2 minutes. Okay, so I just getting off. So fastball pitching, we just had the I heard that the driving line in the United States states that the spin efficiency cannot be improved or enhanced. So we just think, oh, it could be improved. So we just try to find a way to increase that spin efficiency. So the result was like spin efficiency is nothing to do with strength. Rather, it is opposite negative correlation. Large finger pulse, then it is like a worse spin efficiency. But that spin efficiency is a correlation with the moment stabilization. So if two finger pulse, they just stabilize moment very well, then they have like a good spin efficiency. So yeah, last one is like the ballet motion. So you know the I hope you know the Arafat motion. So don't ask me to just perform this one in front of you. I don't know. I just tried, but it is really ugly. And then the issue was the we just want to quantify the beauty. How beauty is quantified. It is quantifiable things. So it was really challenging, and it is a beginning stage. And then it is our best motions. And if I make a long story very short, then exclude ballerina shows lower stability index as compared to the amateur ballet dancers. And we just compare with the judges score, who are just professional judge for the competition. Then a lower index of stability index can be coincided with a high judge score. This means beauty is maybe it is unstable equilibrium. Like beauty is this state. Like it has equilibrium, but just a small force can break down this equilibrium, and then it just has a dynamically unstable condition. And one thing, you just find a beautiful building in the Google website, and all the building looks like ugly, and it looks very unstable. So unstability is one clue, one mechanical variable which can say about beauty. So beautiful action is unstable equilibrium. If they just collapse, then it is not beautiful, but if they can maintain that one, then it is very beautiful. And this one is like a future study. So we just trying to make a AI pianist with a multiple modality, and this one is like so far this is like a AI generated pianist. Study is I mean there are so many like procedure, detailed procedure. If you want to know the procedure, just contact me, then I will explain how I really just do this job. So that is not perfect. That one is a little different from the model person's action, but at least we can just create the pianist motion using this machine learning. I'm not a big fan of machine learning or just deep learning, but yeah, I mean, I'm just doing this one because I need the grant. And then we also have some robotic study for the human-centered design of exosuits, and then this is currently published in the Science Robotics because the value it is we just think of human-centered the exosuits. And then later, I just focus on the some brain imaging signal and then how just this also applies to sports or like after injury, how their brain signal can change and then what happened during their they got many stressed. So I just try to do that research. And then this one is there's some complication. Currently, we just make some device which can test like a reference control theory. So I mean, there was some video, but the time limitation, I just skipped that one. And then we also do some lots of other study RCK theory. Also, we test how a surgeon can operate the surgery and how fatigue can affect their surgical outcomes. Some other things we are planning. Yeah, yeah, here is my group people and some collaborator and research support. So I just passed it and time passed, so I'm very sorry. So this is my end of presentation. Thanks for your listening.
So thank you very much for your excellent talk. And on behalf of the 2025 AACS, I'm honored to present the letter of appreciation to Dr. Park. Yeah. Right. Yes, will you come here?
Oh.
Okay, thank you so much. Oh, right. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry, I forgot to say because of time limit. So if you have any questions, because please contact Dr. Park after this section. Okay, so because of time limit, then I will say this section is ended. Let's move to the next section. Thank you so much, and thank you for coming this section. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jaebum from. Sorry for not making the time on time. It's a little long. This invited speaker is Dr. Kaiser O'Neill, one friend of mine from Tennessee State University. He will talk about more coaching science and the coaching education system in the United States. Let's welcome to the Dr. Kaiser O'Neill. The stage is yours. Sorry. All right, hello and welcome.
All right, thank you. First, my name is Casey O'Neill. I'm from East Tennessee State University. I'll show you in a minute, but it's on the East Coast in the mountains of Tennessee. But I can't do anything without saying thank you. I just could not be more honored to be here today by both institutions helping support the amazing things you're doing. And I'm going to be honest, in the 3 days that I've been around, I'm just so honored to meet all of you and the conversations I've had. I really hope to keep those going after I leave. I'm very appreciative. So who I am really quick is I came from a physical education and sport pedagogy background. I taught for a bunch of years in New York. I'm a New Yorker. Originally, I'm from the mountains of New York, right by Lake Placid, where the Olympics were held in 1980. And then I got a master's in sport management, but really where things kept, after I was done teaching, I wanted more. I really did. I just felt like being in higher education, and I went to UVA and specialized in sport pedagogy at the University of Virginia. Just real quick, because I'm a little bit different in the way I do research. Well, even though I have, I think, 33 publications, a lot of it is community driven. So I want to know a little bit about who I am, and it might be different than what you're used to, but it's my style. I'm from New York, and we moved to Tennessee. So we just drove our kids 13 hours and dropped them off with our parents to fly here today. So here's East Tennessee. Here's our campus real quick. Our beautiful, we work in the Dome. You can see the Appalachian Mountains, and here is our home base. So we have our football, sport performance, we have our batting cages, we have our gun range, and this is where we have our sports science and lab that's very famous, actually, right here in the Dome. But this is where I do a lot of my, if I teach physical education or sport pedagogy. So that's who I am. I'm here more to talk about systematically what's going on with coaching education. And really for me, this started, even though I've been in the world of physical education for over 20 years, it really started more about 12 years ago when I became a dad. And I'm a father of 3 sons, and I'm the guy that, even though I'm at work all day and work normal hours, you coach everything, and I still do today. Just this past, I was coaching 3 soccer teams and a track and field high school team, right? So my wife might not be able to stand, but I'm always busy. And it really stemmed from what is good coaching education. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why in America, it's a system that's broken, it excels, but it has a lot of broken parts. And the lens I want to approach this today is that coaching education for me stems a lot from the grassroots, secondary, and a little bit with university. While my specific specialty is not in sport biomechanics, I do a lot of grassroots stuff that links what is quality coaching education. I was a college athlete at university level in track and field. I still coach track today. So that's really what I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to link that to a lot of the technology I'm using and that are very highly used today. And so I think you can't talk about coaching education in America without talking about the sociology of sport. I was raised in a community where everybody plays everything. What does that mean? Is that I played football, I ran track, but everything is community driven. My children right now are growing up and they're in a soccer program that, even though they're in the middle school or elementary, it's driven by the school. And what do I mean by that? Your community means everything. Sport is driven around community. If you go to this, this is right down the road from where we live. This is a Friday night high school football game. The whole community shows up. So sport is not just this thing where at this elite Olympic level. It is so ingrained in what we do in American culture. I just went to our local team, basketball. They made the city championships. And I couldn't even get a seat, right? The whole community. So it's very much ingrained in what we do. And that stems from how we internalize ourselves and identify, right? So it's really a place where we hang out, and it's a cultural experience. So today I'm going to talk about a little bit about the decentralized model that we use, and then how we add technology into them. Right, so here's grassroots. Here's this last season, coaching U11. This is our travel league, and then so we have grassroots and youth. We have secondary, which middle school and high school are very big sports programs. Most of the money in a lot of school systems, after you peel off what's for math, science, English, and social studies, a lot of our taxes go towards youth sports. They really do. So that's a lot. This is our local high school coach. This is ETSU. This is our female university level sports. And then we have professional sport. So the lens of what I'm going to be is very much, what does coaching education look like from here to about here? And that's really where I'm focusing my future research as well, is what is quality coaching education? A parent came up to me when I was coaching little guys. And I don't know if you've ever coached kindergartners before. And some of you are going to be like, I would never coach a kindergartner in my life. And they say, you do so well with the kindergartners. And I know that's just really kind of herding cats, but there's science behind how to stand, where to go, how to give feedback, what to say. And I thought about, how does my child, or how can I give them the best experience? And it really stems from this coaching education process. So in America, it's, if you want to coach, do you want to coach tomorrow? You could coach. And that's interesting. There's no barrier to entry at the grassroots level. I was just coaching 3 weeks ago at soccer against a dad that I thought was very unprofessional. Dads, moms, they all coach their own children. So, and that was a city league team. So if you think about it, my son is going to grow up in that program, but they don't have teachers, they don't have scholars or from the high school or middle school coaching. So who has to do that at the grassroots level? A lot of the time, that times stems from parents. My wife coaches, and right now, from a coaching education perspective, there's nothing required. If you wanted to coach volleyball to high schoolers in our city rec system, all you have to do is pass a background check and get first aid. That's it. So this grassroots and youth level is where I hope to have future impact. I want to look at, and a lot of my research is looking at, what is quality coaching education. The quality here becomes the issue. Right? If you think about, okay, he has sport pedagogy background, he has a background, but what about the guy that was next to me that I thought was saying things were unprofessional? Right? So the variability in quality can be a major issue, right? And a lot of the times there are professional development opportunities, but they're optional. So, and I'll tell you a story quick though. I also have a son that I pay money for him to be more in an elite level soccer program. We call that a travel league. So he plays in the city. The entire season for my son costs $25. And I don't know what that would be. Very cheap. Very cheap. And we can spend a lot more in this expensive travel league, but I'm getting coaching that's more elite. I'm getting coaching that stems maybe someone who's been in the program. So in the same grassroots variability from A to Z, you could have a program where a person doesn't know what they're doing. And now you could have, in that same grassroots system, if you pay more, you can get that more individualized and specialized training. But what does that do? That starts in baseball, predominantly in the South, and soccer, it's about who has money. Right? So the student athlete, or if you're 12 years old and you're a phenomenal soccer player and your parents don't have money, you're not going to be able to get that high level coaching that you could at the grassroots level. So a lot of times you'll go to the city league or a lower. Really quickly, the coaching profile here of secondary middle schools, which you sometimes call junior and high schools. This is the cultural community that I was talking about before. This is your Friday night lights. This is your showing up. We have a lot of resources that go into this. Our taxes go into it. So, for example, just the high school I went to in New York, we had football, basketball, baseball, all of that. We had cross-country skiing. We had downhill alpine skiing. We had lacrosse. We had field hockey. So all of that has to get paid for. And you got to think about your taxes. But what is the coaching education process for them? Well, most often they are teachers who work in the school system. They are your physical educators. Most of the students in my physical education and sport pedagogy class, they're the ones, as soon as they leave, they want to get jobs in the local schools. And a lot of them go back to their community, right? So they're born and raised in Shinsu and they want to go back and teach. because it's so community driven. They want to go back after they get, so there is a higher level. This is where we're starting to see a lot more sport performance. You're seeing universities start to tap into more. Now, universities can't talk officially to schools in secondary and junior high and high school, but you're starting to see the strength and conditioning coaches. The ETSU, for example, strength and conditioning coach, on the side, he helps the strength and conditioning program at our local high school. So we're starting to see that, as you all know, the sports science is starting to bleed more into the secondary programs. And this is newer, this is true. Especially where, so what is the coaching education process and profile, right? So teaching license is usually required, but no formal coaching education. We do have the National Federation of High School Sports. They offer a lot of professional development that schools and coaches go through. And then finally, university athletics. University athletics is a totally different beast. I'm sure you know that you all have heard of the big football programs, and NIL is really big right now. But so who are these people? What is the coaching education profile? And this is they're most often athletes, past athletes. Most of the people that you see in America, and they're on TV coaching baseball or softball, most of them didn't go through a coaching education program or a sport pedagogy program. Why is that? And I want to look at, can that be a process that we start at a lower level? What are they usually? Past athletes or work their way up as graduate assistants. Now the pay, right? We have 3 levels of athletics in the US. There's D1, which is the big programs. Division 2, which is kind of medium. And D3 only means you don't get scholarships. I was a D3 athlete. I could have competed with D1 athletes. I just didn't get scholarship money. So most of the time, you will need an education though. Right? You do have to have a master's, and a lot of them get through. I want to show you someone real quick. For example, look at the coaching pro. This is Brooke Savage. You don't even have to know who he is. He's our current coach. But the coaching education process is what I want to know. He actually, look where he started. He was just a graduate assistant right out of school. So he graduated, and he spent years working his way as an assistant coach to be a head coach. So the coaching education process comes in 2 ways. It's either through sports science, biomechanics, performance management, or it comes from the traditional route of working your way through a system. And these systems right now, and you may have similar, are struggling to talk. And we're doing better to have the sports science and biomechanics and even sports psychology, mental health, to fuel this. But if you think about this, is this person, did he have a coaching education degree? No. But look how long it took him to get where he needed to go. This, of all the top colleges and universities in the US, this is the typical profile, right? So they just started and they worked their way up. So when you think about university athletics, it's hard road it's hard road. All right, and many of them have to invest from the beginning. Yeah, and then finally, you're professional. You're professional, usually your pro or elite levels. This is not my specialty today. I'm not going to talk about pro athletes, but it's just the tier system that I wanted to talk about. They usually, again, don't have any formal degree, but hold a bachelor's or master's. So the things that I'm still at the grassroots level ask myself, and where I want to go with a lot of what I've been doing and looking at future research is, can we impact, whether it's through long-term athlete development or through quality coaching education, can I impact things at more at the secondary level? Can I create a university-based coaching education program that is more, and I know there's out there, Florida State has a big one, Michigan has one, but how can I create that for the community that surrounds me? And a lot of my research has been in technology and physical education and sport pedagogy. And while I want to do that, I'm still a researcher who truly, I want to help the community I live in. So that's where, so coaching education training. Now again, I only throw this up here to show you that the USA Track and Field, the U.S. Olympic Committee, and this is soccer, U.S. soccer. They have coaching education systems you can join. So for example, if you want to coach soccer tomorrow, you're like, okay, I want to be a level 1 coach, right? A level 1 coach can do stuff with what I'm doing right now with youth, grassroots, and you can start to work your way up. But it's not required, and it's self-motivating. So you got to think about, how are we approaching? To be honest, when I was thinking about coaching education for the last 10 years, it's so big, but how do we bring it to something that I can clean up and make efficient for my community? So this is just to show you that you could join a level 1, level 2, level 3 track and field certified coach in US, but you're fully invested. I was level 1 track and field coach. I didn't go on to level 2 or 3, but it wasn't required of me. So this is where the university coaching education system, and hopefully specifically ETSU, comes into play. And this is the model that I've been hearing about a lot from you all, is that we have to do better at playing together. I'll give you an example. We had a sport performance guy in our department. He left, he took a job with the New York Jets. But I saw one day, and he had 12-year-old girls, and they were all wearing the GPS monitor system. They were all wearing catapults. Now, he got them from the university, and I said, what are you doing? And this was maybe 12 years ago. He goes, oh, I'm tracking all the data on my 12-year-old girls to see where they go, biometric with speed output, right? And he goes, you don't need to do that, but I want to turn this into real-time data. I heard someone talking the other day, it was during the keynote, and he said, so much of us still as coaches lead by what we see and how we feel from experiences. Well, you all know that that's not a model that's going to sustain us in the long term. We have to be data-driven through, 1, we have to build the coaching education and the pedagogy, and 2, we have to implement it with a system of data. So that's where we are coming in, and I'm sure a lot of you are playing with sport medicine, biomechanics, because we are going to contribute to this. I'm going to jump ahead to this integrated support system team. This model is very, very popular at the university system right now. Right here at ETSU, we are a D1. We're at the top level. There's actually 2 tiers of D1. We're the second tier, so we don't play Alabama or Tennessee, but we've created, so our athletic director came out about 5 years ago and says, baseball, softball, soccer, stop treating this like you're all independent. We are one integrated group. And I'm going to go out, and he hired a psychologist, mental health. Yes, we're going to bring in my department, the sports science team. We do athlete monitoring. We have right now the baseball and soccer team. They come in 3 times a week for athlete monitoring, and we shift the team based on the season. But we're going to bring in the coaches, the sports scientists. We hired a new nutritionist. I mean, I don't know if you've been around, at least in America, 18-year-olds who leave their home, they're eating junk. Right? So how are we fueling the elite level athlete? I've eaten better here in 3 days than I'm loving the food here. But right, so the first time they lived away from mom and dad, right, how can they stay at elite level? So why am I saying this? Is this integrated support team, NCAA programs are investing heavily in one full team, right? The full support team with athletic training and strength and conditioning, to fuel and integrate performance. So I'm backing up a little bit, because I'm going to talk about, and I know this is a sport technology, but what are we doing to help increase that integration? And that comes from a lot of what I do with technology. And I know some of this you've seen before, but I'm just going to tell you the stuff we're doing on the ground, grassroots, right? That's what really is efficient. And what we're doing is, right, we need this data. That's what this whole slide says. We need data to form decisions, all right, to make decision making. And like I talked about, many of the coaches in the US still have this traditional mindset. I was talking to our football coach the other day, and I go, well, you just hired a new coordinator for defense. Well, he's been doing it forever. That's just what he said. Well, why is this person good at what they do? Oh, they're tough on the athletes. They've been doing it forever. Well, I had a sports science faculty with me, right? And we're both, how is data driving that? How is this integrated support team, right? The eyeball test is not going to be sustainable moving forward. Right, so we need to bring in, yes, the practical experience, you've been there, your experience in golf, you're going to bring that experience in because you know the feedback and cues you need to give. But at some point, to look at that swing, we have to bring in data. We have to see what your hydration levels are when you come in pre, post, during that periodization stage. We have to use technology and have a more integrated system. I think, in my opinion, the US we're still trying to do a better job with this integrated system. Coaching education and coaching is so broad, and everyone feels they are a coach, right? I could talk to the guy down the street who's coaching 6-year-old girls. I also can talk to an elite level sport performance. They call themselves coaches. But I struggle with the education process and the integration system, and that's what a lot of my research is looking at. I'm going to highlight in the next 3 to 5 minutes some things we're doing. I want to show my lens is very much grassroots and secondary because that's where I play. All right, Game Changer is the #1 app that we use with baseball and softball. All right, everybody can download this. This is huge, right? So we do a lot of coaching management here. Through Game Changer. I'm starting at your lowest level of entry with technology with coaching education, and I'm working my way up. There was a slide, but I'm starting basic. Game Changer is what you use a lot. Grandma at home, 10 states away, can watch the baseball game, right? And she can see live stats. We had a son who played travel baseball, and that's what we use. So Game Changer is an app that we use very often. Now, I'm starting low and working my way up to more complex technology. So in Game Changer, I can obviously also keep stats. When we had a son, this is not my son, but a good model, we had the coach over here. He would share the stream, and he would keep track of data. So when my son was up, he would track where the hit went, right? He would mark it, and we would keep track of data. So, all right, we're doing a lot right now in youth soccer. Again, I'm starting in least complex and moving up to camera tracking, right? So camera tracking, my son plays youth soccer, and we're doing so much with camera tracking now. Again, this is a way you can share things with family. But more importantly, this for high school and early university systems, our university uses a system similar to this. I can track certain players and plays. So we use a lot of, as you can see, a lot of times we have we use these most in ETSU and in our travel league more for practice-based because a lot of our top level games are recorded. But if I want to look at practice, if I want to look at my son, my 11-year-old son, what he's doing, I can use camera-based tracking. It follows where the ball goes. This one's very popular with us right now. I can use this, right, so I can see this would be an example of my son, right, or any athlete. Here's their heat tracking, where they went. Again, this is a simpler version of what you already know with GPS or catapult-based systems. But the other ones I want to show you is Huddle, and the only reason I talk about Huddle is that it's the #1 platform used by secondary coaches, so that's high school, and how they communicate with each other. So in America, if you're playing the town down the road in football or basketball, you're required to share your video of, right? So scouting, it's like a friendly, you share the video. You don't have to do that anymore because all the games in high school are now recorded in this Huddle-based system. So for high schools and junior high schools, it records it similar to a very video, but I can timestamp and I can record plays and what they do. But the reason I'm talking about this today as a coach is that you can share this with other coaches and other systems. And I'm doing a lot of analyzation in this. I will also say if you are let's pretend this athlete right here is considering going to university, Huddle is the system right now that they use to share their video with universities. So Huddle is in-game tracking, and it's a lot of code. It gives you pre-codes. A lot of what I did in sport pedagogy is watching video and coding. This system is great because it helps you code much faster. Again, here's an example of basketball Huddle. I'm not going to spend a long time on this, but you can do in-game tracking and then just zip this data. It can do so much. Again, nothing new to you all, right? But as I work from basic to more complex, is that video analysis, right? So I use OnForm the most with my students. And if you're a golfer, right? So I am a not amazing golfer trying to get better. I use this because it's low, right? So low hanging fruit. Did I hit something? Is the slide blank on there? Yeah. Yep. Is it?
Maybe change it to your computer.
No, just go down here. Yeah, because we can modify, adapt on the fly. Keep going, keep going. Go to Team Builder. Just leave it there for a second. So Team Builder is what we use in a lot of university systems. Again, I'm getting more This is our strength and conditioning platform. Most universities right now, even high schools, are using Team Builder. There's a base model and there's a more expensive university model. So ETSU, this is our strength and conditioning platform. So strength and conditioning coaches can come in, they can set what they're doing. A lot of our periodization work, it happens through here. We also have, so this sample is, the guy's name's Rocky. They measured hydration, but what they can do is, here's maybe Rocky's workout for the day. He comes in to the gym, he pulls up his app. The strength and conditioning coach already has today's program in the app, and he can either just do what it says, or in the system you have a recorded video for each, and it's just in the platform video. And then the coach can see and analyze and give feedback. A lot of universities right now in the US are using Team Builder as strength and conditioning platform. I'll do like So Catapult is our GPS. ETSU uses Catapult all the time. Again, I'm getting more into sports science stuff that you probably are familiar with. This is our GPS system. Jennifer, my wife, was just telling a story. We watched ETSU win the championships last fall, and the guy ripped off his shirt because he scored a goal with no time left, and he had the system on, and I was like, oh, that's so cool, right? He was wearing, my son was like, why is he wearing that funny shirt, right? Like this. But it was the Catapult system. You can go down, we track GPS data, heat mapping. This is a big part of what we do at ETSU in our sports science lab. You can go down to, does it allow you to? Yeah, good. So, we do a lot. Catapult is our #1 system right now we're playing with ETSU. Let's keep going. I think I'm about done here. A Catapult, we also do live data with heart rate monitors. Yeah, continue. The last thing I'll say that I'm not going to spend a lot of time, go one more, is that ETSU, a lot of, Chung's been there before, but we do a lot of athlete performance, and we do a lot of, our lab does a lot of athlete monitoring. That's the big thing that I will give credit to a lot of people who are not here at ETSU. Satoshi Mizuguchi, who is actually here in Taiwan, he's a past, Dr. Mike Stone. We bring in athletes and we do a ton of athlete monitoring. That's a big part of what we do. This is some of the stuff you have also done. So we have force plates, isometric, we have isometric jumps with weighted off the board, but that's a big part of what we do. Yeah, my last slide really will be the next one. Go up one. And we do a lot with isometric pull. So every athlete will come in 3 times a week, and we'll look at nutrition. We ultrasound them to look at the hydration in 3 points on the body. They will run through a battery of tests depending on the part of the season they're in. We look at nutrition, urine analysis, and we monitor. We usually pick 2 or 3 teams a season. So right now, I think because baseball's heavy in season, we'll do a team that's out of season to track periodization as we progress. In conclusion, I know we have a lot of tech that's going on, but for me, it's about what is coaching education and how can I make, for me, how can I make my sport pedagogy program more data driven, but produce quality coaching education? So I couldn't be more thankful for you allowing me to speak today. And thank you so much for your time. I turned it off. Yep.
Hello. Thank you very much for your incredible talks. Any question from audience? Just open one, please.
First, sorry for I overused my presentation time because force you to rush up your presentation. So, like being a coach, feel like much harder than being a professor because professor just focus on one thing, but coach had to learn many other things. Then how can I just like manage it? There are lots of field coach should learn like exercise, physiology, biomechanics, psychology, and each coach may have their own strengths and weakness for specific their field of study. So how can that kind of things could be regulated? Like is a making averaging certain making level.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. How do we uniform this education process? Now, I'm only one person, but I think it starts with one experience in the sport. That's the one so many people lean heavily on. You can walk into anything. But two, I want to create a coaching education system that's highly focused on talk. Our coaches need to know how to talk the body, not just the sport. And I think that's missing a lot with the secondary, right? We have to have a baseline biomechanical knowledge. We have to have a baseline physiological knowledge. We have to have a baseline when it comes to sports psychology. If you don't know certain types of motivation forms, right? If you don't know sources of self-efficacy and how each source of self-efficacy could impact, right? So I think there's a fundamental knowledge that I think if we had a coaching education system, right, we could have a more uniform form of feedback. What do I mean? Because it's about the athlete. I always tell my athletes, nothing matters. This isn't about me. It's about you. And if I'm not saying the right words, where am I getting that knowledge? On YouTube? Right? I have to create that program. I want to create that program that has not only the fundamental sport knowledge, but basic, fundamental, physiological, biological, and very psychological knowledge. And of course, there's tactical and gameplay, but I think you could walk in with golf, tennis, soccer experience with that gameplay experience. I want to provide the baseline of the other stuff.
I do believe the presentation on your speech makes a great impact on the coaching community in Asia and in Taiwan. So on behalf of the organizing committee, I'd like to show the certificate for the appreciation.
Anybody ever wants to clap? Thank you so much.
This is wonderful talk. I think it's quite related to our coaching science. Yeah. So I want to thank you again and also thank you for all the participants here. So let's so actually I have a couple of questions. So maybe I will ask you later because our time is up. But this I saw some like never found in this year. So maybe later on we can chat together. Yeah, thank you. you.